So apologies for the poor lighting, but this is super urgent and none of the mainstream media are talking about this. So Trump and Netanyahu are talking to various parts of Africa about where they might forcibly displace millions of Palestinians to. And first of all, forcible displacement of millions of people away from their homeland and their ancestral homes and their businesses and their livelihood and their well-being is genocide. It's a war crime. It's completely illegal under international law. We know that overwhelmingly Palestinians would refuse to move and would end up getting killed in the process. So it's already an absolute war crime for them to even be looking at this as an option. But let's be clear, they're talking about Somalia, the disputed area of Somaliland within Somalia, and they're talking about Sudan. And in particular, I think the most worrying is Somaliland, because there is a possibility that Trump and Netanyahu and various other world powers who would be swept along with some sort of PR exercise about independence and freedom for whoever is there, right? This would end up being a situation in which they got international support for independence on the condition that they took a couple of million Palestinians who didn't want to be there, who would then be competing for resources with local people in an already extremely impoverished and violence-ridden region. And it would be in return for Trump putting an enormous military base there. And that military base would be right next to the already besieged state of Yemen, who've been one of the few parts of the world that have engaged in any kind of resistance to what the US and Israel and the rest of the world are doing to people in Palestine and Gaza. And this is really horrific levels of political manoeuvring and manipulation, turning to some of the most troubled parts of the world, and rather than offering support, instead offering them, you know, a kind of Trojan horse in offering them one of the things that they want, some independence, but in return for it, forcing them to participate in huge scale war crimes and in the ongoing American military control of the Middle East, which shouldn't be happening in the first place. And yeah, is frightening, especially when you consider that they are the number one ally of the people committing the biggest war crimes in the world over the last several decades. And we should be focusing on this. We should be hearing about this. We should be able to raise our voices about this. And we should be aware of this before they begin a PR campaign trying to whitewash this and tell us that it's them being do-gooders, or that they're helping somebody, or that there's some moral value to it. It's a dangerous piece of genocidal manoeuvring, and the fact that the media aren't telling us about it just demonstrates their complicity in it. Please share this video and let people know what's going on so that we can all stand up against it as far as we are able and as often as we are able, because much as it might seem helpless, there is evidence that protesting works, and there is evidence that fighting back against these things when it's done on a mass scale can be effective. And I hope you'll join me in being a part of that wherever and whenever we can. See you next week. Increasingly, the mainstream media is terrible at informing the public of what is really going on. I'm only able to make these videos because people are generous enough to sponsor me making them, and if you're able to be a part of that, I would hugely appreciate it. It can cost as little as $1 a month, and you'll get loads of fun bonus content and lots of extras from me, and my undying gratitude. I also massively appreciate it if you're able to like, share these videos and let people out there know what's going on.